Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite Creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will learn to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. Now, with that said, hello everyone. I'm hoping that this holiday season has treated you at least a little bit well, and that the cold weather and so forth, and all of the, everything going on is. I hope that you have been getting through these times, you know, uh, as best you can. I know that there are a lot of folks who are having some really hard times, and also what I have found, sort of, that's the reason for this video tonight, is that sometimes it is the small things. And the word is should be capitalized in this because sometimes it is the small things that we do in life, that we do spiritually, that we do whatever, that these become precious moments later on in your life. And, each moment should be precious, but there are some that just kind of pushes that preciousness over the top, if you will, which is a good thing. And like today, I want to, my jacket is from my friend and his family. They got me this lovely jacket for Christmas. I was not expecting it, nor, but anyway, and I have this lovely shirt today. It's a tie dye, and I don't think the camera does it justice, but that was from my one of my adopted grandchildren, and they came down to see me. They were going to come see me on Christmas, but things got, hairy and uh, complicated during their Christmas. So, but they came to see me today and brought me my shirt, and I gave her a present, and we exchanged pleasantries. But this shirt right here, now there may be some who say, "Oh, you're cutting your family down." Well, not really, but um, some of my family, whatever for whatever it is, I'm that crazy old man, and it's a little difficult to put up with me from their point of view. So I've accepted it over the years. But what has been extremely precious to me, and in these small things and these small moments, um, there are those who somehow reach out to you in little unexpected ways, and just there's something different about it. And so these are precious moments, in my opinion. And the older I get, you know, there's way too much time to reflect on things. And I used to boo hoo about some things and this and that. But what I look back on now in my life, both spiritually and physically, and however you want to put this, I find that, there are certain precious moments that just stick with you. And you say, well, okay, Hawkeye, what do you mean by, it's the little things? Well, for example, there was a time, I talk about nature a lot. And so in nature, sometimes you just stop and notice something. And it might be a blade of grass. It might be a beetle crawling through the garden. It might be a hawk in the sky. It might be you're sitting by the river, and a fish swims up to nibble on the end of your toes or something. I mean, there are just so many, quote, little things. But in the idea of the shaman world and of the spirit world, sometimes those little things turn out to be the big things. They could be aha moments that later on in your life you look back and you go, that moment that whatever, and you recall it, and how you feel about it now and how you felt about it at the time. is totally different, because you know it could have brought you joy or sadness or whatever at the time, but later on you look back and you go, well, however it affected me, it was a precious moment, and I learned something from it. And because after all these years I still remember it. So my point to that is that there may be great things in your life, but in talking with folks my age and older, you know, us old folk, the recalling of incidents, it might be, you know, an event or a couple of hours or whatever it is, but over the years, you know, family, friends, or whatever, you get together and you remember that time, and it's like this little obscure thing in time. And for whoever was there at the event, and for after all these years, you look back and go, you know, that was a good time right there. You know, that was precious, wasn't it? Or that was whatever. Now we could look back and say, well, you know, there are people who died, and there are people who got in accidents, and there are people who've done this and that. You know, yeah, we can, but you know that keeps us in that negative category all the time, where we just really don't want to be. So in life, and especially here, it seems, and not just myself, because I've talked with my sister and a couple of other people, and in having conversations, there were these little specks of time, little incidents that happened to them over this last holiday, you know, over Christmas or whatever. And it was being somewhere, it was being with someone, and it was that incident, that thing, that in the years to come, this has been a precious moment. You know what I mean? Now, we've had precious moments before, most of us, especially if we stop and you know, not necessarily cogitate on it, but allow, you know, those little incidents that, you know, what was the first day you actually woke up, you know? I mean, really realized there was something different going on. What was the first time that you realized that you know, maybe you had taken and eaten half of one of those blue pills versus a red pill, you know, or whatever. The idea that, you know, you realize that who your God, who your creator actually is, or what the essence is, or the first time you ever realized that you took a picture of an orb, the first time you ever, you know, encountered you know, seeing a space vehicle in space that it may not be one of ours. When was the first time, you know, you kissed a girl or a boy or both? Who knows? But what was the thing that was that in that moment that it was precious, you know, and that in that moment it could have changed our lives. But here's the thing that did change our life is the fact that you still remember it, whatever those moments may be. So, and it's the little moments as an older person you look back on and go, you know, that visit from this friend of mine was just, you know, it was only for an hour, but man, that was great. It'd been years since I've seen this person, and we sat down and we talked and we chatted. And after, you know, 15 or 20 years of, you know, not seeing them, you know, to have them show up. And this happened to me last year, but I also got a phone call this year. So, but anyway, so I'm relating to that in that, you know, so for all the moments in between, the moment you get a call from a dear friend or something like that, and you go, wow, it's good to hear your voice, you know, you still live in the same, yeah, still here, you know. And to some folks, I think it's comforting where they have moved around. I'm still here on the farm, which I find interesting in and of itself, in that I used to be a vagabond and traveler and a gypsy of sorts, you know, with traveling puppeteer and storytelling and going to all the different places that I have over the years and all the powwows and events and things. And, you know, so, um, and being on, you know, growing up on a carnival and have, you know, having traveled the South, you know, extensively back in the day, having been a delivery person down here in the South and have driven trucks and so forth, you know, so I know my way around down here pretty well. There have been a few changes, but not many. And, even was smart enough to avoid being caught by the GBI, the state patrol, and two counties and a narcotics agent. That's for another story. But it actually is true. And I actually did outrun them, like sort of like a Bonnie and Clyde scenario without the guns. They had guns, but we didn't. But anyway, so you look back on some of these things and go, some of those events were harrowing, you know. The brakes went out on your car and you almost went over the edge of a mountain or something. I mean, that happened to me as well up in the Smoky Mountains. And I mean, we were like this close from going over the edge of that gravel road. Wasn't speeding, just the brakes gave out and scared us awake. I'm telling you, me and the two boys. But there are events that for each of us, it might be a harrowing experience, a near death. I mean, almost getting an accident, almost drowned, almost whatever. And that can be a memory that is precious in and of itself in a different way. And you say, well, Hawkeye, what do you mean? Well, if you came really close to getting killed or hurt or maimed or beat up or something, and you missed it by that much, that is a precious moment because you saw something, for whatever it was, the car, I've been in several car accidents. And the fact that I was able to walk away from a couple of these, not my fault, mind you, is like, wow, I'm still here. So the event in it of itself was tragic, harrowing. It hurt like hell. But at the same time, there was a precious moment in there where you saw your life could have been totally different with another split second of something, right? So you find that that moment is precious and you go, man, that was really too close, but I'm still here. Okay. So it becomes a precious moment, even though it probably scared the crap out of you. So there are people, there are events, and also like for spiritually, and I can't speak for anybody else, but the times that I've literally climbed the mountain and sat on top of the mountain and meditated and asked God to come talk to me, show me a sign, and OMG at the things that I've seen and the things that happened around me. But here's one of the things in my shaman walk, to just be a better human and to try to be in harmony with nature and those things and people and stuff around me as much as possible. um there are sometimes, for example, this incident that a storm came up, and I mean there was lightning and thunder and rain, and it went from hot to cold, like just in a blink of an eye. And in coming down the mountain, having been so worried about the rain and the lightning and so forth, the spirit stopped me on the trail. And this was on Trey Mountain in North Georgia, on that part of the Appalachian Trail. And I stopped in one of the cutbacks, and there sitting across from me was this great big hawk. And he was eye level with me. And he looked dead at me, pouring down rain. I mean, the lightning was just atrocious. And I mean, the mountain's like 5,200 feet or something like. It's a pretty tall mountain, especially for North Georgia. It's one of the tallest up there in North Georgia. But yeah, so I'd climbed that thing and asking for answers, and there's sat that hawk. So this was kind of sort of a little earlier on in my true Hawkeye my morphing into Hawkeye. And it was one of those times when Hawk looked right at me and spoke to me and like, what are you scared about? I'm like, what? And it was a really tall tree because of the mountainside coming down. There's this really tall tree, but I'm up here where my thumb is and where this limb was, where the hawk was. But there's 30 feet down to the ground to the base of this tree. Anyway, so which was an interesting thing. But to the point of this, though, had I just continued to bitch and moan about the rain and the lightning and that, had I not paid attention to the little details while I was walking in the rain and while I was, and seeing this hawk, because I had my head down and was trying to, um, and I was maybe a quarter of the way down the mountain. And I was like, I'm going to die up here. It was all I could do to climb the damn thing. And I was overweight at the time, almost 200 pounds. And I'm about 165 now, and I was way out of shape to boot. And I didn't think I was going to make it to the top of that mountain, but I persisted, insisted, and found help along the way. But on the return trip, though, having looked straight at that hawk, and there was like this, this is part of your journey, Hawkeye. And I was like, what? And he looked right at me and said, this is part of the journey. You have to, if you go up the mountain, you're going to have to climb down it, and if you, and for me, I was looking at, oh my God, I'm never going to make it. Oh my God, I'm not even a quarter of the way down the mountain. Oh my God, that I'm going to get struck by lightning, because it was crashing all around, way up on this mountain, right? So all of a sudden there was a calmness that came over me. The rain wasn't cold anymore. It was still lightning. It was still, still thunder and crashing through them North Georgia mountains. Well, any mountains, but through the mountains, there's that rumble and the roar of the thunder coming up and down the mountain. Really interesting. But that hawk just sat right there and looked at me, soaking wet. And it was like, this is your journey. Sometimes it's going to rain. Sometimes it's, you're going to have to climb up and you're going to have to climb down. If you want to reach anything, you're going to have to climb it, And I was like, and I knew for myself what it meant for me to climb the mountain. I didn't have to have the hawk to tell me. But so I'd been to the top and some really strange things happened up there. But here's this hawk talking to me, and I'm like, now that's a new one right there. So I'm telling you this because with all the thunder and the lightning and how hard it was for me to climb and the stiffening of my leg, all this other BS, there was that precious moment I'll never forget with that hawk sitting on that limb. And, he was 20, 30 feet away from me with me being on the trail and him being in the tree. But to see that, that creature, that critter, that wonderful being stare back at me and speak to me. And I was like, so as I just stopped there and I blinked and the hawk was gone. And I was in such a place that I would have noticed if I could have seen him fly away. I didn't see the hawk go anywhere. It just wasn't on the tree limb. And I know it was on the tree limb because I stood there on the path for at least 2 minutes looking at this hawk going, what's this all about, Alfie? And for those of you, that's what's it all about, Alfie? Is it just anyway? So is it just for the moment? So in looking at the hawk and having this interaction that seemed like 10 minutes, but was only a minute or two, maybe, and then to have the hawk just disappear. So I was there to seek a vision. I was on a vision quest. And to have what happened on top of the mountain, the storm come up, and then having the hawk there, and the hawks were in the sky before. But anyway, it's a long story, and this wasn't supposed to be about that. But as a precious memory, that hawk gave me confidence. I could feel the rain, but it was no longer cold. The lightning was really bright, and the thunder was crashing, but it didn't bother me. I mean, literally in 30 seconds, I was changed. And in a lot of ways, I've been changed ever since, because if I ever forget along my spiritual journey, I look back onto that event and go, remember Hawk sat there on that limb? Remember your walk up the mountain? Remember you thought you were going to die? And then the storm came up and the lightning struck so close, and all the other stuff. Yeah, 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 yeah. Right. And then having the conversation with Hawk. But then as I walked down the mountain, my back didn't hurt as bad. The rain wasn't cold. I found solace, if you some you know, I felt more with nature than that nature was being against me. So I allowed myself to just be rained on. I mean, I know that sounds silly, right? But oh my God, I'm getting rained on. I'm going to get drenched. I got, versus it's now it was really raining. Okay. This was a scary thunderstorm. And I've been in a lot of thunderstorms, but to be out in the open like that, high up on a mountain, and, anyway. So it was like God was speaking to me, like, change your, pay attention, boy. So, but after the Hawk incident, though, I looked down the path and I was like, this ain't so hard. I walked up it. How hard can it be to get down it? And it was just like in 30 seconds, I went from being this hyper, gonna not necessarily gonna die, but how bad the storm was, and how negative, negative, negative. And in that instant, I realized this was a precious moment. So I'm walking down the mountain, and I had a book with me that I didn't want to get wet. So I had it up my t-shirt and down the back of my pants, inside my belt. So my t-shirt was acting, the water was running off my back and hopefully missing the book that I had. I think it was on medicinal plants or something, but anyway. And I just knew my book was going to be ruined. Well, it only had a couple of drops of water on it after this long journey back down. And as I walked off the trail onto the gravel road to where my truck was parked, it quit raining. I mean, the instant I stepped off the trail, it quit raining. And I went, what? Looked around at the sky, looked around, like somebody's got to be watching this scenario, right? There wasn't anybody else there. It was like late in the afternoon, maybe 2, 3 o'clock late in the afternoon up there in the mountains. And but ever since that, I thought, the things that I saw on the way up, the incidents that happened while I was on the mountain, the visions and things and the clouds and the hawks and the birds and the chipmunks that were playing at my feet. I mean, it was just like, and then to have the storm and then the hawk, and then my attitude changed. And I wasn't cold. Like I said, it was almost like I wasn't even getting rained on. And it was pouring. It was pouring. And then I stepped off the trail onto the road and it stopped. And within a minute, the clouds were gone and the sun was out like nothing had ever happened. And I was like, oh, holy crap. So now I've had several incidents like that things have happened to me. So, but here's the thing. Now, not to say that you should go find a mountaintop, but maybe you should, okay? Because there are certain things as a person, and my niece, my sister's daughter, the oldest daughter, I don't want to talk about her, but anyway, she had a bad marriage for years and years, stuck with it for the girls. And then when one of her daughters graduated high school, she said, that's it. Well, she went on her own spiritual journey, but she had to take the journey. She had to go out to from Atlanta. She had to go out to Arizona, I think, maybe New Mexico. But anyway, no, I think it was Phoenix. So she had to go to Arizona for for her own sake. Her father died when she was real young, and he died of cancer. He was only like 25. And so she never met him, only saw a couple of pictures, and nobody thought he was going to die at that age. You know what I mean? And my sister had moved out there with him, and then he passed away. And anyway, so she wanted to go to where her father was buried, which is a noble thing, right? But in this spiritual journey for herself, her car broke down. She had this, she broke, this happened, that happened. But at the end of it, she said, I wouldn't have traded that for the world. The hardships to get there, the tears and the crying, and she said as a result, after she got back, that she grew up during that time. And I mean, she's got 5 kids, so it's not like, and she has taken care of them. She's she's been a good mom. And so it's like, for her to have carried this all these years, and then to have actually been able to achieve it and go out there and see her father's grave, and and that it healed her in a way that I think, like for me, in finding out about my real father and mother and all that stuff, nobody ever lied to her about who her father was. But she'd never had the opportunity to just go see his grave because it was so far out west. So, but anyway, in these things, she could have sat in Atlanta and thought about it. She could have done a lot of other things, but she put forth the effort to go there. And in that, physical journey was a spiritual journey. And she put things that, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes we have to put ourselves out there. Now, it may not be that we're going to drive, 3,000 miles to go do something, but it may mean that we are going to drive 3,000 miles to go do something. It may mean that. But how much do you want to put yourself out there? What do you want to learn from this? Do you think there's always lessons? I mean, I went to the store yesterday, actually, and took care of some small things. I was going to do this video yesterday, but anyway, I was tired. And so today, I took care of a bunch of small things yesterday. I got new windshield wipers for my truck. I finally got a new battery for the truck, which was like, I couldn't tell you if it was going to, I'll be able to go out and start the truck or not. I tried to get a, speedometer cable. They don't make the part anymore. Interesting. But so, I went to the store and took care of this. I went in here and took care of that. And I went and got this and took, so I took care of a lot of little things. Okay. And Duggar was with me the whole 2 hours kind of thing. But in that, I felt, even though I was tired for running around here and doing this and that, I was proud that I had got those little things done. And some of them, I had another week or two to go take care of them, but I took care of them early, which is not like me. I'm always waiting for the last minute. And I took care of them early. And I was like, wow, cheers for me. I'm a week early. I paid my taxes on time. Holy crap, what's wrong with me? Nothing. But I have found over the years, though, that when I wait till the last minute on anything, it always gives me, indigestion. So I was like, there's a window of opportunity here. I'm going to take it. So I took care of those little things and come home and just went, and then fell asleep. That's why I didn't do the video last night. But anyway, but those little things that we see in life, it's the little things that we take care of in life. It's like getting this T-shirt today from Dear Emma, Anyway, I try to keep folks' names out of stuff. But anyway, so she's a wonderful young lady, and so's her mama. And her daddy too. Don't get me wrong, but and I've known him for a bunch of years. I've known her since she was born, so that's 12 years. And the fact that we can have, wonderful conversations, and she made this tie-dye T-shirt for me, and and their remark was, now I can be, now I'm officially a hippie, and I was like, it was a bunch of laughs, and it was really good. So this along with a couple of things that happened, like getting the jacket the other day, and Christmas cards from my friends, 4-year-old and 2-year-old, and a little stick figure of us playing frisbee. And you never know how you're going to affect another person's life. And here's a little 4-year-old girl that remembers I'd only met him once, and we've become fast friends, and draws a picture of us playing frisbee together with Duggar, although Duggar was in the truck. But to the point, though, you have an effect on people, whether you understand it or not. But if you understand that you do have an effect on people, so then what you do, what you say, how you react, how you present yourself, and I don't mean in a plastic fake way, but I mean be real, but be honest, but also know your subjects, if you know what I mean. So don't go starting a fight about politics or something. If you know they're Democrats and you're for Trump, you don't go there, right? You just say, well, I have my own opinions, and you stay out of it because it's the right thing to do. And you go, well, I could voice my opinion. Yeah, you could, but then for people that you just met, would you start a fight like that? Honestly, I mean, because there's all these other wonderful things about these people. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come over or went over, visited, whatever. So you say, well, I'm going to give these folks a chance. So, but at the first opportunity that something comes up, are you going to like start a fight? So what could be a friendship, and because of all these other things in common, or you're going to ruin it because of politics. You know, I would rather shut up and let the politics be damned and take the friendship, because politics can always be negotiated. And we can always, depending on who we are, we can prove who we are by the actions. And so we can sway another person, sometimes not, but especially when we massage it and do it gently, release some tense muscles, if you will, And so there's some Democrats who are just like, I just never thought it was this bad, and I never understood that before, and because I was a lifetime Democrat. I don't know if I'm a Republican, but I'm still registered as a Democrat, but that's not necessarily how I vote. I vote for the person. Not that our votes freaking count. And I got to go back to the polls here in another. I could have voted yesterday early, and I thought, you know what? No, I want to be part of that large conglomerate on the 5th. You know, now I'm gonna wait because it's only 2 miles down the road, right? Only takes 10 minutes. And I want to be there in person because that's normally what I've done versus write in or vote early. So, you know, but so the precious moments in our lives, how does it make us feel spiritually? Now, to have a good visit with a granddaughter that it ain't really yours, but there's that granddaughter, grandfather give you a hug before she goes and wishes you happy new year and was sorry that they couldn't make it on Christmas. And I'm like, I didn't even get a phone call, but these people went way out of their way to come visit me and for them to bring their, Christmas present to me. And we exchanged gifts. And I asked her if she liked unicorns. And she said, yeah. And I've had a brass unicorn sitting in my window right over here for years with a crystal on it. And the last time she was here, I thought to myself, I'm that's going to be her Christmas gift if she'll accept it. So when she came, I said, you see that? And it's big brass unicorn, heavy. And I said, would you like to have that for you? And the crystal goes with it, but If you don't like the crystal, if it doesn't resonate with you, it's okay. And she said, no, I like it. And she was real proud and took it home. So, and I'm something that has been precious to me because I love the unicorn, but at the same time, I love what she did for me, and I love how she is becoming this wonderful young woman with a good sense on her shoulders, and she's smart and intelligent, and she's going to be a looker when she grows up. Um, but that the unicorn, I see the spot over there, but I know I'll say, well, do I miss the unicorn? Will I miss the unicorn? No, because I know it went to somebody who wanted it and who cared for it. And, it's like, wow, thank you. So, and it's one of those, I've got too many things in my house kind of thing also. So it's letting go of things that for however many years I've had that unicorn, it's been a bunch. It's been 15 at least. And so the fact that I can honestly give it with love and no hesitation, there's a lot of in that few moments in time. It's precious for me that she accepted the gift and I was able to give something that meant something to me. You know what I mean? So in that moment, though, I'm finding, and then this just happened a couple hours ago. So I'm still fresh in the moment, if you will. But in that moment of time that I'm sort of stretching out here talking about it, though that in a year from now I can look back at the Christmas this year and go, I remember when I got this T-shirt. I remember when such and such. I remember when when the little girls um, um, made me um, Christmas cards and how special that was. Now, that just gets added to the list of other precious moments, though. So you heard me talk about the crazy crap and the pain and the suffering. Okay. So, but in our lives, if we notice the little things, because they are important, there can be 10 seconds in your life, like the 30 seconds on that trail with that hawk, that just changed my life forever. So well, it was a big thing. You were on the mountain. There was so many things, but it was that brief little time with the hawk that went along with the rest of being on the mountain and the rain and all. But it was that instant communication, that precious moment with, to me, a higher being, because hawks are just amazing, along with a lot of other birds too, mind you. And since that's my totem and part of my, my Indian name, if you will, my shaman name, that the hawk has been present and has been present with me ever since. In fact, I saw a hawk today outside when I was outside looking up and all. So not only can you take care of a few little things when there are these great big issues that are we're being bombarded with on a daily, hourly, minute notice, depending on how attached you are to to Twitter and all. Um, that if you allow yourself to be listen to it and hear the ramblings, and I go through the headlines and I'm like, that's enough. That's enough. I'll listen to part of a thing. That's enough. And there are times when it's really hard to like, and some of these are the good guys, but the prattle and the stuff that continues. So you look for that little special spark of something in there, right? Or, and it could be bad intel or information too that we should be aware of and pay attention to. But um, for our spiritual needs, though, have you ever just, you know, hang on. Hi, everybody. 38 minutes in, 39 minutes in. What I was going to say is, have you ever just, you wanted to be spiritual and you said, okay, wherever you live, maybe if you live in the desert, you're going to go out to some quiet place. If you live anywhere near some water, you go find a place maybe where there are fishermen or boaters or something, and you watch the sunset, or you watch the sunrise, or maybe you watch the moon rise over the water or something like that. You're at the ocean, you put your feet in the water, and cold or not, I mean, right now, it was cold the other night and I was out barefoot, kind of wading around, and I was thinking, this is just crazy, but there was something about my feet weren't really cold. My feet were colder in shoes and socks. It was interesting, but anyway, so Teresa, thank you. Barry, how are you? Ian, Chloe, how are you there? Ian, Chloe, Barry. I know that it says there are 15 of you here. Bless you all. I hope you're warm and comfy and all that good stuff. But our experience, um, envision a circle of warmth from your fire. Yep, that's a good one. I'm just going back up to see Pamela. How are you? If you're still here, trying to understand why half of your profile is in the dark, unsettling. It's not unsettling. It's just that I just can't do lights, and I got a really bright light overhead, but it blinds me, and I'm very light susceptible. So I can turn around with the light over here, but Pamela, sorry about that. If it's unsettling, it shouldn't be. It's just what I have to do because of my eyes and my seizures and that kind of thing. So, um, Hawkeye looks cozy to me. Yeah, I'm very cozy. Little heater down here, and I'm all, I've got my beard all brushed up and kind of halfway did my hair, but I was out. I cut two trees down today and cut them up in the yard that needed to come down, and one for more southern exposure for the porch. And I was torn between two lovers. One of the lovers was to cut firewood, and these trees really need to come down. They should have been down a couple of years ago, but they're down now. And or to mix concrete. So I'm going to do my best to get up enough energy because we're going to get rain. Let's see, today's Tuesday. We're going to get rain on Thursday and Friday, and maybe come in tomorrow, but it'll warm up tomorrow afternoon. So I got a few bags of cement that I'm going to pour on this porch and try to get some more done because last time it rained, it took 3 days for the water to get out of the ditch, and it left me a bunch of mud that now I have to clean out. But anyway, progress. It's still the trees needed to come down, and I needed firewood, and in a week or so I'll be able to burn the wood. And it'll take about a week for the real cold weather to come back in. So anyway, it takes longer than that for wood to dry, but um, I had to burn some of one tree that's only been down a couple of weeks because I just needed. Oh, thank you, Deborah. um, Thank you, Ian. Uh, Hawkeye is single-handedly raising the vibration of the collective. Uh, Thank you. And that's one of the things that when I was growing up as a Catholic, I heard about these monks and spoke to some of them. I went to retreats and things in the Catholic Church, and and then there was them Catholic priests that were naughty and not nice, but and having that realization of what is God, what is God to me, and and of course, you've heard me talk about Sister Helene, and she was the one that told me study Buddhism, Dave, because that's what Jesus did. So when everybody came up, what would Jesus do? He went east and studied Buddhism and Eastern religions, and anyway, so that's one of the secrets that will come out of the Vatican. But a lot of that has kind of sort of slipped out over the years. But anyway, so in my spiritualness, it was all about, it's not about God, but who I know I feel this spiritual thing. So I've been in search of what does that mean. And in doing so, though, and I went down the dark alleys, let me tell you, but realized them dark alleys were really dark. You know what I'm saying? Holy crap! Oh, the negative and the death and the evilness. Woohoo! So, but in finding this higher light and talking with these monks, you know, they were like, well, I get up every morning and I start my prayer, and I was like, okay, so when does your prayer end? When I go to sleep at night. Actually, as I'm going to sleep, I continue the prayer. And when I wake up the next day, the prayer continues. And I'm at 17 years old, it's a little difficult to understand, right? At least for me, because I was going through a bunch of stuff. And at the time, I didn't know that I was suffering from a mild head concussion. That's another story. But as part of, you know, all this brain injury that I've had to my head, I realized though that in so for all the, you know, for a good 55 years, 65, yeah, 50 some years, I've been studying on what does spirituality mean to me. So I've always been a person that tried to help other people, but here in these last 8 to 10 years, since I was officially uh, got my disability check and didn't have to worry about starving every month and so forth. And, you know, it's a small check, but that's okay. I'm here. And we got a raise this year. Oh my God, one that actually counts. I think I'm getting $50 extra a month. Whoa, that's like a big deal. Anyway, so thank you, Jesus, y'all. You know, anyway, they cheated me out of $200 a month for the last 10 years. So, you know, I'm going to get a little of it back, so to speak. But anyway, in that, though, I've understood now what those monks and priests and guru type folks told me all them years ago, that you literally, if you put your mind to it, and accept it every day as part of your life, that when you wake up in the morning, no matter how bad or good you feel, it's that whatever you do is a prayer. And the things that I do are hopefully good things. Now, you might say, well, Dave, you cut 2 trees down. They really needed to come down. They were too close to the house, too close to the barn, just, and one was half dead anyway. And um, but I cut down trees. You took energy away. Yeah, but in the good of things, though, the way it was uprooting my shed and doing destruction, and I should have cut it down 15 years ago. Anyway, so with all that said, though, but it was a good day in that the trees came down easy. I used, you know, my thought patterns and my come along and ropes and things, and put that tree exactly where it needed to go. Both of them, actually, by myself. And so that was a good thing, you know. And in a way, to me, I've been needing to cut them trees down for years and knowing that I needed to, always coming up with an excuse. But it's the little things, they're finally down. And I was out earlier before I did this video with Duggar, and I was like, the tree's gone. Whoa, you know, it's whoa, you know, it's going to take getting used to. It's been there for 25 years. So, but the tree's gone, and it needed to be. It was an old crabapple tree, and it hasn't had fruit or anything on it, and really needed to come down. And it will grow back up from its bottom if I let it. So it's anyway, it's one of those kind of trees. But to me, that was a little thing that I got done. Yeah, I was outside for a couple hours with a chainsaw and so forth. But to me, it was like that was something little that needed to just whack that thing off and cut it up. I was going to cut firewood from somewhere, right? So cut this other tree down, whack it up. Now I don't have to worry about it breaking into my shed, and this ain't going to fall on my truck, and good. And the other thing is that it's going to help with the sunshine coming in my porch. So these little things are like, wow, I can sit back now and go, I got them done. To me, they're little things. So it's those accomplishments that help me stay in a positive mode. Now, I've spent the last 10 years wishing I'd cut them down. So I finally, achieved the point where I did it. See what I'm saying? Quit making excuses. So in that, it was a little thing. I made up my mind that today was the day I was going to cut them. That's all. That was the little thing. The big thing was cutting 2 trees down. But anyway, but in keeping the vibration going, though, as I'm working, I'm thinking I'm still in prayer. You know, I'm thinking about this topic tonight. It's the little things that count. And like, I'm going to do a video later on. I'm going to cut these trees down. My friend's going to come and visit me in a little bit before it gets dark. And I'm going to have wood in a couple of weeks when it's still cold and the trees are down. All these are good, positive things. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to sit down with my friends tonight. And so this idea of bringing up the vibration, I'm always, even in the back of my mind, I'm always in that phase. And looking back over the years, there were other times that because of, daily life and distractions. Now, because I live down here with me and the dog, I don't get a lot of distractions, right? So that's why the hermit part of me is grateful in that it allows me to be in meditation almost constantly. I mean, it can be 2 in the morning. I woke up this morning at 4 o'clock and was restless and didn't know what to do. And it got to be 4:20 in the morning. And I was like, I'm just going to do a 4:20 at 4:20 here and smoke if you got them. And I was like, man, I don't know. And I was knocked out 5 minutes later. But anyway, um, but that's just how crazy it can be sometimes. But in sharing the vibrations and wanting to be with other folks and say, hey, listen, there's a lot of us who are feeling down this Christmas and this year, but everybody in the last 2 weeks and folks and talking with relatives and all, everybody's really glad that this year is over. I mean, everybody. I was in the store the other night. And somebody said, "Happy New Year," and the lady behind the counter said, "Yeah, and the whole store was like, "Yeah, Happy New Year. We hate this." And I looked around. There was like 10 people around, and everybody was like, "Yeah, we're." So there's so many people that have had enough of this year, and there's so many people hoping for a better tomorrow, for a better almost tomorrow, but a better, a happier, better new year than this one has been. That they're all, I mean, maybe it's a lot of, at least down here in the South, but maybe that in and of itself, that we're so tired of this year, there is so much hope going into next year that the vibrations are up. You see what I'm saying? Because of all the folks in the stores and here and there and all the folks that I came in contact with the last 2 days and within the last week or two, but I mean just within the last couple of days, and noticing people how kind they were to each other, how upbeat they were. Nobody was really sulking, or people were acting like normal around here. Now I'm noticing that the way things are down here in the South may very well be not at all like the rest of the world or the United States, but that people actually still have some sanity left in them, and just going to the store, and people aren't trying to crowd each other or whatever. So there is this sort of quiet understanding of we're going to keep our distance, but nobody's freaking out. Very few people had masks on. People are, now that the George, you enter at your own risk. And so people are like, okay, I take my risk, So things have loosened up, at least for us down here. And there's sort of a calmness that's set in, and a hope for tomorrow is going to be better. You know, the 2021 is going to, has got to be better than this year. And we're going to make it be better because we've had enough of 2020. And that's what it seemed like people were giving me, you know, and to each other, you know. I was like, thumbs up, woo-hoo, you know. Now I know that Moultrie and down here is a small area and it's just a snapshot, but that's what gives me encouragement. That's what gets me, regardless of how bad I feel. And trust me, I'm gonna pay for this cutting these trees down today. I'm gonna pay for it tomorrow. But you know, maybe I can mix a couple of bags of cement and get my and get this footer so I can cover it back, so I can backfill it and have it quit raining in there anyway. But um, I've had now to also to the good side that my friend that had the lawnmower fall on him, he's getting better. My friend that I hadn't heard from in a couple of months, she called me the day before yesterday, and she's been, you know, in two different hospitals and a nursing home, and the nursing home mistreated her. And anyway, but she's at least home and she's still alive and she is getting better. Her arm's better. Her back is getting better, although there is a local infection. But my sister called me from Tampa and she went to Colorado. I could just see my sister. And she's like, David, I went to Denver, I went to Colorado, went to one of those, you know, smoke shops, and I bought me two joints, you know, and of that really good stuff. And I was like, yeah. So she's telling me about this. She goes, you know, it's 3 feet of snow, and we have to go outside, be in this behind this little shed to smoke, and I've never had anything this strong before, and me and the girls went around back to smoke, and we lit this thing up. She goes, and we didn't even get halfway through the joint, she says. And she goes, we couldn't find our way back. So I'm like, that it. So in that's one of those memories my sister gave me. And it's her memory, but I'll remember her telling me the story as a precious moment. You know what I'm saying? About when my sister went to Colorado and smoked a doobie from a marijuana shop. You know, it was always something she wanted to do, right? So, but anyway, um, and sometimes it's those little things that make our life more complete. You know, it's like I've been bitching at myself, you know, that the reason I haven't been on the river lately is because of Duggar. Well, he is an issue. Now, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I'm way much using him too much as an excuse. One way or the other, he's got to learn how to get in the kayak with me. That's just all there is to it, dadgummit. And I have been working a little more on trying to get the canoe ready because there's a whole lot more room in the canoe. And that would be easier, although I like my kayak, So, but it's those little things. So the other day I was working outside on the kayak, on the canoes, and I was like, I think I can do anyway. So, but it's the little things that you do. Now I've got lots of big chores that need done around this house, and it drives me nuts, and it keeps me off balance because I can't do what I used to could, right? But in and of that, and I have spoke about this before, I always pick a couple of items, and they're small items. Just, you know, I'm going to pick that can up, or I'm going to move that thing over there, or I'm going to get rid of that, whatever it is. I'm going to move that little pile of wood, or I'm going to burn it, or whatever. I'm going to decide what I'm going to do with that thing over there. You know, like I decided to cut the trees down, boom, and it was done. So, man, over the couple last week or so, I've been working on the chainsaw, and I got my backup, and I got, you know, so, um, but for me, and I know it's because of my head bang and all the concussions I've had, it has been in making that decision, going and going. One of these days, I got to do it, and you look around and go, so how about now? Well, I don't know, you know, make an excuse, right? So all of us are guilty at some point of that procrastination. So sometimes if we have things that are sort of building up spiritually, now listen, 3D physical stuff will affect your spirituality because you're worried about those little things. So if you take care of one of those little things, and then in a couple of days you take care, and I'm going to take care of one thing today that's on this little list. Mine's about a mile long, a lot of stuff to do around the farm, right? But I'm going to take care of one thing so that when I get up tomorrow, I can look out there and say, I did that. Now, it might just be moving a thing for me, but for each of us, spiritually, we can say, well, I've been, and I've got some friends that as we talk, and have talked, they're allowing this stuff to get to them, really. The politics and the thing, and well, there's food shortages. Well, I went in the store the other day. There was plenty of food. It might not be what you want or are used to, but there was plenty of food in the several stores that I went in the other day. And I'm like, I don't see it, but I can understand, that there are commodities. There's 250 chickens that passed away in a fire down near where my sister lives in Dade City the other day. And, the egg production from that, plus the 250,000 chickens. And, but, there are lots of chickens around here. As I was coming from town, there was a semi truckload of chickens going to the slaughterhouse that is in Moultrie. And, millions of chickens every year are raised, caged, and murdered and chopped up and sent off, right here in little old Moultrie. I think it's Sanders Farm or somebody. But anyway, one of the big ones. I mean, the plant is as big as downtown Moultrie. I mean, they have their own water tower, okay? So, but, and their own electric plant damn near. But the idea, though, that it brings stability, a lot of people have jobs around here. It might be working in a chicken farm or in this, but to the point, there are jobs, and the people who are working at the chicken factory have to buy clothes and this and that, so that keeps other folks busy. Not quite what it used to be, but but folks when I was in the auto parts store, you know, uh, they've always been helpful, and it wasn't just to me, they were helpful to everybody. Here, let me carry that out to your car for you. Nobody had a mask on. People coming in and out of the store and folks chatting back and forth. And you'd think, well, with all this tension in the world, these people should be like rubbing off on it. It wasn't like that. So the idea, though, that we can present a better harmony. So everywhere I go, I'm always trying to be upbeat, smile, how you doing? And sometimes just jump into a conversation, literally. There was people behind me at the dollar store, and I said something about, yeah, I said, I'm getting old. And I said, I'm old and crotchety. And she goes, you're not really crotchety. You sound upbeat and you're smiling. And I said, yeah, but I'm 68 years old. And I was joking, but I said, I'm 68 years old and I've earned the right to be crotchety. So I can, there was a lady behind me who was laughing. And I said, yeah, I'm old. I deserve the right to be crotchety. I just don't know what to be crotchety about or to who. And, everybody's laughing and smiling at the dollar store. So it's like, we pass along whatever we have. And if we're in a bad mood and grumbling, and, that goes there. But as one person to be able to change the vibration of the planet, I I kind of think that I'm channeling some of y'all when I'm doing my walk and my harmonizing, because there are a lot of times when Maverick, hi, how you doing? Teresa, Ed, how are you? Barry and Chloe and Michelle, and several others, Sarah. Um, but there are many times when in my prayers of meditation, although I've not seen many of your faces, that's okay. but I can see your essence in with me, and I'm like, wow, don't know, blah blah blah. I wonder what David Castle doing, or whatever. Wonder what Robert's doing. Anything, but folks will cross my mind while I'm out doing my meditation and chores and that kind of thing. And so I wake up in the morning happy to be awake, happy to be alive, regardless of how much I might hurt, and am glad for the pain because it reminds me how much I'm alive. But it also says that, many who suffer in this world, only look at the suffering. So my back is aching and I'm crotchety and I'm trying to get outside. But me and the dog go out and it's a perfectly blue sky. And I'm like, let's open the door and I'm going to go get some coffee. And we're coming back outside. So regardless of how, and I ended up cutting down 2 trees. So, if you'd have asked me that earlier this morning, if I was going to cut any trees down, I said, oh, hell no, no, I hurt you bad. But in the course of the day, I changed all that. So what I was going to do, what I ended up doing, and how my day was, my feeling about, well, it's too tough. I just cut up wood the other day. My back hurts, and it does. But to the point though, it's like, you wimp. Make up your mind. Go ahead and do it. Get them on the ground, and if your back hurts, but at least they'll be cut down. Which was true. So, now they're sort of in two piles in the yard because I really had to quit. I couldn't hold the saw anymore. But I was like, there's no sense in being dangerous. But at the same point, I went ahead and did it. So, just in the course of today, my mind has changed while I'm praying and meditating and everything, and trying to pass along the good energy. So, we can do it. Every one of us can do it. So, and all you have to do is just when you wake up in the morning and you go to sleep at night, you just, my sleep at night is, and sometimes it's 5 in the morning, but my sleep at night is whoever's out there in the universe who's on my list, as a subscriber and a friend, whoever's on my list, and their friends and relatives, etc. But whoever's on the list, may they continue to have a good day, a night, good morning. May they, their tomorrow be as kind to them as possible. And, and I'll catch you in the morning when I wake up, kind of thing. So, and there have been times where I woke up in the middle of the night and like last night at, 10 minutes after 4ish, I'm going to do a 420 video. That didn't happen, but it was like somebody out there needed me and I just didn't have the strength, which is okay. But to the point though, I was gonna, because if I have learned with all of you, sometimes it's that little thing of being awake at 4:20 in the morning and coming online and somebody out there going, man, I'm just glad you're here today. Thank you. So you all bring me joy because I bring you joy or whatever it is that you get. And as just one person to another, and the people that I actually meet and know and can see their face and their smile and get a really good hug from, feel that warmth. And where some folks a couple of years ago, a couple of big dudes wouldn't give me a hug, they're like, give me a hug now. So, and it's not because that they're not loving or whatever. It's like, well, this ain't the manly thing to do. And I'm like, oh, shut up and give me a hug. I don't care. There's nobody looking for one thing, but who cares? I'm not going to kiss. I'm not going to French kiss you or nothing. I'm giving you a hug. Damn it. No, So now it's like, it's more freely given. They're more open to, um, how do I, that kind of love. That sounds a little odd, but in that, um, regardless of who I am, I'm this old geek, but I try to always be a loving, honest person. So, and if you've known me for a long time, I'm gonna hug you. You're gonna get a hug. So, but the idea though that these other folks may not go out and hug other people, but they'll give Mr. Dave a hug, and that is special to me. That is another one of those precious moments. This person who was really uptight gives me hugs now, and it didn't make him do it. Well, sort of, I did, but in that there's nothing to be feel bad about, or that you're not losing your manliness, or and that it's the spirit of the God in all of us. It's the angel spark in each one of us, and by doing the hug we can connect with our spirits in a way that it. I'm sorry, but we can do this long distance, but there ain't nothing like a good old fashioned honest to God hug from a person. You know what I mean? I mean, everything else is good too, don't get me wrong, but I think y'all know what I mean by that. So, and in that, guess what? It's the little things that make us. Now, in the shaman's realm, what does this matter? Because the shaman will look at the grandchild, boy or girl, and go, grandchildren, it is important that you understand that even a blade of grass needs love. What? Even the smallest things, the river and the creek sing over the rocks or the sand or through the trees and the swamp, and there's a gurgling noise when the water flows. The water sings to us and to the earth of the power of the water. And it's the little things that we hear in nature, like to sit beside a babbling brook, ain't nothing like it to me. In fact, they have little fountains. You can buy tapes with gurgling water. You know what I mean? Used to have those tapes. But then I learned that all I had to do was really remember the places that I have been in the mountains, out in Arkansas, up in Georgia, in the Carolinas, Tennessee, and remember how the water sounded, because I have that memory has been recorded. So rather than having to listen to a tape or a CD or whatever, I can replay the babbling brook in my brain, right? So the image is always there, but it's a small, here we go again. It's the small things. Do you remember that babbling brook when we were on the mountain? Yeah, I do. Do you remember the birds and the hawk cry? Yes. Remember how the wind felt on your face, the breeze, when you were way up on the mountain and looking out over the valley? Yeah. Or when you were at the beach looking out over the ocean, or wherever you may be. You know what I mean? So, but for me, it was always, for me in my shaman training, I had to go to the mountains. But the mountains have changed so much, and there's so many people, and there's so many. So even though I've lived down here in the swamp mostly all my life, because I've been here on this property for almost 40 years now. So it's like, right. But the idea though that the water running in the backyard, with the water running through Dave's Creek that goes through my property, going down to the river, and there aren't necessarily rocks, but there are trees and stumps. They're still babbling. The water still sings. The water still talks to us. But if we're not paying attention at all to the little things, then you're going to miss the song of the water. You're going to miss the sound, the song of the wind through the trees or through the grass. But those are the little things, right? Well, the wind was blowing. Yeah, did you listen to it? Well, why would I listen to the wind? Because the wind tells us stories. On the wind, there are answers to questions. On the wind, there are what? The wind? Yeah, the wind. But it's such a trivial thing, right? Why should I watch ants? Because they're small and little critters, but it's because you will stop looking at the big world and allow yourself to focus on a minute section of the planet and see what the rest of Mother Nature's critters are up to. And you say, well, what does that matter to me spiritually? Because in all of these things, grandchildren, all of the small things add up to the big things. All of those small, precious moments add up to years of memories. We can make them good or bad. I've chosen after all these years to, I can still see the bad stuff. I can allow the bad memories to come into me anytime I want, but I choose not to, right? So, in that choice, and how we react to those memories, if we decide that, you know what, let me take a closer look at some of these small things. Well, what happened yesterday? Well, I saw this beautiful, hawk fly overhead. Well, what else? Well, on the way home yesterday, the sunset was absolutely gorgeous. You know, well, so well, I had this problem, I had that problem. I can't find parts for my truck. Can't do the, my back hurts. Can't walk. Okay, but wait a minute. The sunset was beautiful. The stars coming out, and and this and you know. So it's the little things, because rather than all those small crickety things that happened yesterday, pain in the back, climbing the stairs, I got the bills paid, I got this done, I got that done, I got, new windshield wipers now, I now have, I now have lights to go in my truck so I can drive at night. I mean, it's the little things. Headlamps, for example. Whoops, can't drive the truck, can't go to the store. I don't have any lights on the truck. So, but it's the little things. A new battery, so at least my truck will crank now. It's a 2-year die hard. Woo. But in that though, and it was a fairly good price too. Um, but the idea though that all the bad things that could happen or would have, or the negative things, and oh, well, I didn't find that, and something's up, and a lady got in my way, and somebody shot me. It's a beautiful sunset. And many of the people I met yesterday were absolutely lovely to each other and to me, men, women, white, black, this idea that there's this racial tension. I live down here. There's all these, in South Georgia, they used to hang them on the, in the courthouse, up in the bell tower. And, until they say, yeah, some of the residents don't like that. There's supposedly, hung a few of them from the magnolia tree on the town square back in the day, but it's an old tree. Um, but the tension that people talk about, I go around and see black people, white people, and we're all talking and joking, and nobody's hitting or killing or scared of each other, you know. But I live in America. I live in South Georgia. It's not like I live, at times I wonder if I'm living on another planet compared to other people, especially what I read and I hear, and all this racial tension and all this bias. And I'm like, very few people act like that around here. And some of them are on drugs, so or are drunk, but we've calmed down. So as a society and as a people, and down here in the South, to have gone from slavery to getting along, and blacks and whites living together and married and children's, and haven't we come a long way? I think we have. And it's the little things that happen along the way that have made a difference down here. They don't hang people on the square anymore. That's a good thing. But in that, we have learned to get along, and that arguing with one another just ain't worth it. We may not like each other. My next door neighbors, have always voted Republican. I was the Democrat in the neighborhood, right? Me and this other guy about 5 miles away. And now we're the Republicans. And the guy across the street from me, a lifelong Republican, has voted Biden this year, right? Who knows? Who knew? But we still talk, not often. They don't come to the house, but I was up at the mailbox and she was like, "Hey, how you doing?" I was like, "Wow, she actually speaks to me." But um and the next door neighbor, the dog run up onto their yard and was barking. And I went down, "Hey, no, how you doing? Everything okay? Did you have a good Christmas?" "Yeah, buddy, how you doing?" So even though we haven't talked much in the neighborhood, I've just been me, and uh, I may be that old hippie hermit down in the woods, but I don't hurt anybody, and so I have earned the respect of my neighbors simply because I just am who I am, kind of thing. I don't, I'm not trying to start any fights or anything like. Used to play a lot of loud music, but not so much anymore. Um, but the idea that after all these years of some of these folks literally hating my guts because I'm an old hippie and play rock and roll, to where they at least, don't spit at me when they see me, so people can change, people do change, but they've changed because I have learned that, at 12 o'clock at night, playing Jethro Tull with the speakers out back where you can literally hear it for a quarter of a mile away may not be the best things, that your neighbors want to hear. And boy, like this time of the year, I can turn on. I got a setup. And you turn on them upstairs speakers, and I got I got a big PV, some really good PV speakers, and I pointed out the back door towards the woods, and you can be down on the river and hear every word, through the woods at a quarter mile away, But anyway, but so I, not that I didn't respect them, I just thought it's my land. I want to play the music loud if I want to. And I guess I didn't respect them. Well, they had their air conditioners on and the windows rolled up, you know, but I didn't realize that, that it was, even though I'm a long way from any of my neighbors, okay, that music travels right up the hill and it's like they're standing at the top of a speaker. It's amazing. Um, I had the sheriff's department out here one time. We had some tunes going, but was standing on the road and they were like, "Man, that music's really loud." He goes, "Where are you all set up?" And I was like, "At the bottom of this hill." So the sheriff's department rides down the hill and they get down there and they get out of their car and everybody's like freaking out. But we're like, "No, we're just checking things out. Y'all are good." And but he's like, the music ain't that loud down here. So went back up to the top of the driveway and went over to the neighbors, and I went up there with him, and I'm staring. He said, "I'm telling you, ma'am, it's not that loud down there. It's just carrying up the hill. It's louder up here than it is down there, and I'm sorry about that." But it's only 9:30 at night, and I can't arrest them for disturbing the peace. That's what it was all about. But so over the years, it's like, holy crap. Anyway, so I have learned that just because I want to do it doesn't mean that I'm not hurting somebody's feelings a half a mile away when I turn up the music that loud, because of where I live and how the the music travels up and down the river and up and down the hills, especially during the wintertime when there's no leaves. But yeah, we can have a party and turn on some tunes, let me tell you. And have a wide assortment of music to play as well. Um, Anywhere from Bach and Beethoven and, Ramanovsky and Tchaikovsky and, um, all of them buggers to Jethro Tull and, um, well, Black Sabbath, not so much, but I used to have some Deep Purple. Boy, man, them guys are great. Um, um, James Gang, Um, of course, James Taylor and, Carole King and them folk too. But anyway, so, but in the little things, though, again, the little thing in thinking about that, that those times when the cops came down, it was like we really were trying not to play too loud, but at the same time, it was the little things. It was, come on down. You can hear how loud it is here. People are talking in normal voices, but you go back up the driveway and it sounds like, it's so it's those little things, but respect for the neighbors, at least up to a point, and respect for your common man, respect for the universe, respect. Wait a minute. What's respect got to do with this? Well, something has come up here recently, and you hear me talk about it a lot. It's about honoring yourselves, honoring those that have passed on, those that have made the transition, like Brian and some several other friends of mine this year that have passed away, and some close calls by some people, uh, you know, that have had cancer and beat it, and some folks got cancer haven't heard about, and lawnmowers falling on people. I mean, some dreadful things this year for the people that I know. I know that dreadful things happen to other folks too. And so if I continue to count my blessings and go, thank you, Jesus, not so much for me yet. No, don't even say it. Um, I was thinking of the cement that fell on me and broke and messed up my leg, which has been doing good, by the way. But in this, it's those little things. How do you want to look at tomorrow? How do I want to look at yesterday? Well, it's already gone. Beautiful sunset, got them little things done. It made a difference and makes my life more full. My spirit is lifted because I took care of things, those little things. And in my being a curmudgeon, ha ha ha, that it's my choice whether I want to do anything or not. Nobody forces me to do any damn thing. So around the house or, clean the dishes, screw you, no, 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 no. We can't be that way. So, but at the same time, there are times when I stare out the window and realize, crap, 3 hours has gone by and I didn't do what I wanted to do because I'm meditating. I'm thinking on things and I'm, sending G's to the universe, And I realized that for me, as far as my job is concerned, it's okay if I sit and stare at the universe for a couple of hours and pray because I accepted that as part of my job as a spirit warrior. I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, did a video on it and said, I declare now that I am a spirit for the Christ consciousness, and for the light workers. I am a spirit warrior and I will continue to be a spirit warrior. And by saying it now again, I always continue to say that prayer. And yes, it's just a bunch of words. And am I saying it to a God? No, I'm saying it to the universe because if there's darkness somewhere, then I want to pray against it. I want to pray for the light. If there's, devilment over here, I want to pray against it. If these folks are doing it, I may not be able to get my fingers in it. I may not be able to stand between two people who are fixing to murder one another or the other. But I can stand in spiritually and say, somebody's got to stand up and say, sorry, but no, I'm going to pray against this. And the prayer is just that, is the violence necessary? And if not, and violence is never necessary, but if two sides won't ever agree, then it may be necessary, right? And that's a choice in the universe. It's a small item, but them little things add up. So if we can stop a fight, if we can avoid a fight, if we can achieve a moment of dialogue between peoples or faiths or politics, if we can instigate a time when we can have a loving moment and give each other that cosmic hug. And, I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and I said, I said, recently I've had a situation, and I said, we're some other spiritual folks, and we were having a chat. And I said, had we not had this chat on Zoom, I said I would not have been able to express as a one on one between people what what I meant about a particular topic, and we were able to discuss it and go, you know what, you're over there, and the folks that you know the Western traditions, Western United States, west of the Mississippi, sort of. And then the Eastern tribes and Eastern folks and Eastern traditions. And there are a lot of similarities, but they ain't the same. So there's a lot of wordage that's odd. But when you get down to what we're talking about spiritually, we've been talking the same thing spiritually all along, but using different words to describe it because of where we're from and the traditions that, like a southerner or like somebody from the southwest, or for the northeaster, like my friend Kashka, the legend keeper up in Alaska. And so people are similar in their basic beliefs, but how we describe that belief and how we share our knowledge of that belief, that's what can be. Well, I don't like what that person's saying. Maybe he said it wrong, or maybe you're not listening correctly. And so with certain things, and I got to admit to myself that I have misunderstood what some of these folks have been talking about, because after I was able to ask direct questions to them, it was explained. Oh, but I'm talking, and there was a sense of, I got it, between us that had not existed before. So when you can have dialogue and be able to communicate, listen to the other party, because you may be listening, well, this is, and no, hang on a second. And I realized for myself, I was taking a stance. Well, but that's not what I've learned. I've learned all these things, and no offense, but I've been around a while, and but this is, oh, but these folks are talking about it in their tradition. Oh, yes, I'm talking around the subject because um, I don't feel that it would be right to talk about someone else, but anyway, but here's the good news. We settled something that we didn't know was broken. We settled something that nobody was aware of. Now I kind of sort of was, and maybe they were, but after the conversation and after having this understanding and myself allowing myself to listen carefully, and then at the end of it ask a question that didn't, and the first thing I did was, I want to apologize if it seems like by my questions I may be offending you. I want to apologize because that's not what I want. So I started out my questioning with an apology first. And then I stated, what about this and what about that? And after the answer was given, I could ask a follow up and reiterating, listen, I mean no disrespect, but what do you mean by this? And by having that frank discussion, and by, not going, well, this is how I was taught kind of attitude, by apologizing up front that my questions may seem to be, um, provoking anger or whatever, or questioning their spirituality or the motive, no, ain't got. So as soon as you break that down with whoever it is that you're communicating with, then you've just like lowered the tension. Again, it's the little things we do. So I could have just not responded. I could have sat there and just allowed it to go by. And that little voice inside said, ask these questions, but apologize first to make sure they understand your motives when you ask the question. Now, so if we do this out of honor and respect, you thought I forgot about that, but out of honor and respect for each other, if we just acknowledge that and go, I'm going to listen a little closer before I get my insides all up and you're wrong, that you this is that, and that's not the way. Calm down, get your panties out of get the wad out of your, and then listen with your heart, not just your brain, because your brain's going to go but. Nah, listen with your heart, and then ask honestly and patiently the question. Say, I'd like to ask this question, understand that because I'm trying to understand. So you automatically put the other person at ease. That's very important. People don't do that enough. Well, I was taught this way. Calm down. And in the conversation, I did say that, but it was after an apology and after it makes an assurance on my part to the other parties that I was asking questions because I wanted to learn. So when you state your intent and make sure that people understand it, and you are respectful and honorable in trying to understand what this other person's talking about, you may find out that the two of you are closer than you thought. I've talked about this before. A friend of mine down in Thomasville, and for whatever reason, she had been against me for a long time, and she was a really bitchy woman. Oh my God. And she had a tongue like razor blades. And we met each other. I didn't, I knew I was going to mental health, but she didn't know I was, or anyway, so we were sitting across from each other at the mental health department. And from that split moment on, you mean you're on? Yeah. Who's your? Oh, you see, doctor? Yeah. You too? Huh? What do you think? Blah, blah. All of a sudden, the hatred or whatever it was that she had for me, we had this commonality of we were both seeing similar doctors, similar meds, similar issues. And all of a sudden, she was like, well, you're not this bad person that other folks told me about at all. And I was like, no, Nancy. And I know that you're not that person other people tell me about. So, and there was this unwritten thing, it wasn't even spoken. But from that moment on, we became friends. It was her guard came down, my guard came down. We had conversation and we talked. Well, I thought you felt like, oh no, Nancy, I don't know where you got that idea, but that's not how I feel. And well, Nancy, what about you? Do you feel? No, I don't feel like that at all. Well, then, hey, what are we arguing for? Good question. And it was better from that point on. It's the little things, them tiny little details that can make a difference in our world for not only us, but maybe for other parties, for other people, for other that you might not even know that they're being affected. But because your vibration changes and maybe the other person's vibration changes, um, that we just, there's a calmness that comes into the universe, a harmony. So I keep the hope up. I I want to say I keep fighting for that, but fight's not really the right word, you know. And I don't want to use struggle or anything like that. So, but I keep working on that detail. You know, every day is a meditation day. Every minute is a meditation. Every second in the world. I was watching a movie the other day and they said, do you know? And I was like, oh my God, it was like they'd heard one of my videos. They said, do you know that every moment in your life you have the opportunity for change? and it was some kind of whatever, can't remember. But I remembered then that was like, what? And it was like, you have every instant of your life you can change, you can make a difference, you can. And I was like, wow, it sounds like one of my videos, right? But to the point though, it's out there. People, even subtly in movies, we have the opportunity to change. We have the opportunity every single moment of every day to make a difference. And how we look at the little things will affect how the big things alter, right? So, in being kind to folks, a 2 year old and a 4 year old, and I get, Christmas cards with "I love you, Mr. Dave," and pictures of me and the dog, even though they're stick figures, and playing frisbee, you never know. You never know. But as the old saying I used to use in the carney, and playing a game, right? Come on in, come on in. You'll never know until you try. And if you never try, you'll never know. And people used to look at me and go, what? Now I was like 17 years old and this is my shtick, right? I'm a carny barker. Hey, come on in, come on in. Give it a try, give it a try. You never know until you try. And if you never try, you'll never know. Give it and I rattle it on and on. But the thing is that there were times when people would look at me and go, where did you get that saying? And I said, well, I think I made it up, but I don't know. Maybe I heard it from somewhere. So a lot of my life, a good 55 years of it, has been in that same mode. If you never know if you can do something, you'll never know until you try. And if you never try, you'll never know. So it may be that you need to go out of your comfort zone to learn a lesson. And it, like my niece, her car broke down. She had this, that. She would, she was on this journey to see her father's grave, and all these things, and all these turmoils and problems and stuff, that all the agony and the crying and everything she was going through with the divorce. And she made it through, and she's much better on the other side. But had she not started that journey at all, would she still be miserable? You know what I'm saying? But she made the effort, like other people that I've known. But until you try it, until you, and maybe it's parachuting out of a plane. Don't know. I always said I wanted to try it, but I think I'm getting too chicken in my older age that I don't know if I want to jump out of an airplane or not. I don't mind flying in small airplanes, but I would like to do that. But I don't know if I really want to jump out of a plane anymore, as one of those things. But um, I think I would rather go on a balloon ride. You know what I mean? Just hover up there for a while. And anyway, so it's almost been 2 hours. Teresa, Michelle, Deborah, Truax, Project Skyfalls. How are you? And bucket list. Yes. And I got several buckets and I got a list on each one of them, flip them over to sit on. But anyway, um, I'm making it through my breakup. Yeah, I agree with you, Ian. And here's the thing. So, tomorrow's another adventure. Who knows? It's supposed to be not too cold tonight. And if I take another one of my back pills and drink the rest of this coffee, I might go out and mix 3 or 4 bags of cement tonight in the middle of the night. Who knows? But every day is an adventure. And for those folks who live in the the chaos, and you've heard for months now. I mean, before Brian transitioned, we were talking about it then, about staying out of the chaos. And I did a video about the cacophony of the chaos, and that there's a harmony in the chaos. It's sort of like jazz. You know, different people playing different notes, but when you stand back, it's like there's a melody in there. There is a harmony in it. But if you only listen to one instrument, you go, the bassoon, what the hell? It's not making any sense, right? But when you add it to the rest of the orchestra, you go, that's where it goes. Or that's why it's there. But anyway, so the music of the universe, do we only want to listen to one instrument, or do we want to listen to how the planet is? And oh, by the way, speaking of listening to the planet, let me check this real quick. Now, I'm going to put it in here just because, whoops. I was looking at the Schumann. Yeah, I'm always looking at the Schumann. Control V. Whoops. Dang it. That is not what I wanted. Hang on. Hold that thought. Oh, two other things. One of them is, yeah, it's Control V, right? Drat. Hmm. It won't let me do it. All right. I'm a dummy. Isby, how you doing? I was doing Control V, trying to copy it, and Control V is the paste. Um, you know, honestly, I've had enough to take. Oh, Chloe, I do. Thank you. I get too much rest. There are sometimes I had um, a 2 day migraine, and I mean, just sitting up was tough. But no, I do take care of myself. Me and the dog, we were outside playing, catch, and I've got a couple of old soccer balls, and they're deflated enough to where he can get a hold of them and carry them. And so, chasing him around the yard. So, and I take as much care of myself as I can. There are some days that aren't quite as good as others, but in the long run, I'm still here and still fairly healthy from a lot of other folks. But thank you, Chloe. Um, yeah, going through breakups. Not that I wouldn't. Um, well, to say that I gave up on love is would be wrong. But I was looking for love in all the wrong places because for some reason I was um, love in a relationship. Well, there's the love, and sometimes it's best just to be friends. But would I love to have someone that I could hold hands and be romantic with? And absolutely. But I gave up on that a few years ago simply because I kept looking for it. And every time I looked for it, I got burned. And so I realized that if this was supposed to happen, it would happen. And I'm not dead yet, so it's not like I'm not looking for love, but I'm not looking anymore. If it comes to me, that's another story. So, but what I'm a Libra, for God's sakes. I'm a romantic, and to not have that in my life is like there's a big section missing. But at the same time, I had to be able to take that love to a higher level. And but it was because I was adopted and kind of sort of abandoned. I've had abandonment issues. So to get really close to someone, and then for whatever reason they change their mind. I might not change my mind, but they, well, I don't like you anymore. Okay. Uh, I go into abandonment issues because I was adopted, other things. But so I've had to overcome that. And I've done pretty good over the years. But after I had that really bad, those really bad episodes with the epilepsy and all that stuff, the last thing on my mind is to have any kind of boy girl, because I'm heterosexual, boy girl relationship, right? And so, but like I said, it's not like I, wouldn't love to have a lover, if you know what I mean. But at the same time, I spent years and years and years and years looking and trying to get one and to have a mate that I wasn't gonna die alone. I was gonna have somebody. We were gonna hold hands and go fishing together, and it's like, screw it, you know. Not to be rude, but it's like the more I tried to make it happen, the worse it got. I'd just be Chloe. That's it, And it's not like somebody said, "Well, you just don't want it." And that's not it. That's not it. Um, and I've taken a bunch of chances in my life to try to make it work out. And only once or twice has it been I want out of this, but it was usually because the other person wanted out secretly, probably before I did, for whatever the reason. And so it's like, and my answer has always been, but I thought you loved me, you know, I thought you loved me. Well, I did. Well, what about now? I hate your guts. But what about the ring and the thing and I thought you said you loved me. Well, that was then and this is now. Okay. You know what I mean? So what I've learned over the years is just if the other person's made up their mind, or if you've made up your mind, if it's like, no, I cannot handle this anymore, I can't. I must get out for self-preservation, then that's it. You can't feel guilty about it because it's a decision you did not come to lightly most of the times. But if a relationship is being such that you're at each other's throats, you don't want to be around them. I mean, I worked late because I didn't want to come home, you know, and off the clock. I would work 2 or 3 hours overtime just because I did not want to come to the house. And it's not because I didn't like my house, but I didn't like the person who was living here, and apparently she didn't either. But the idea though that however the situation turns out between two people, when you realize that you you have crossed a certain line that you ain't going back from, then it's just best to just say, okay, deep breath. Let's cut our losses, because for every day that you try to mingle, and I always say, look, We can be friends, but it's up to you. But anything other, depending on the situation, but we can be friends, we can talk, or you can just go the fuck away and we'll never see each other again. Oops, I slipped with the wordy dirty. But the idea, though, that you just like, just go away, don't see, don't call me, delete me, don't talk to my friends. There are those. And as much as we might want to cuss and scream and, it's not fair, if one or the other or both of you have made up your mind, then just make it as clean a cut as possible. Don't make any nasty remarks. Well, you should have done this when we were met. Nope. If it's over, it's over. Don't look back and bitch about it. It's you've made up your mind. Move forward. If they've made up their mind, and no matter, I've been in a situation where it's like, wait a minute, what did I do? They had just made up their mind. They wanted something different, whatever it was, and you wasn't in the picture. So whatever they made their left turn or right turn or whatever, you kept going straight ahead. So and there have been a couple of relationships that I mean I've really honestly thought I loved this person deeply, and I hurt for a while. But the thing is, after all these times, though, that the realization is it ain't there no more. And bitching and screaming or calling. I mean, I was getting drunk and throwing up on their driveway, and I was just doing silly asinine things. Um, uh, 1 week of this girl wanted to marry me, and 2 weeks later she married a guy. I mean, it was like what? I mean, within 3 weeks, so we didn't really break up, but she started seeing this other guy, and the next thing you know, I mean, literally 2 weeks later, they were married, and we'd been going together for 2 years, and it was an interesting situation, and she had 3 kids, and I was going through, um, had too many mental issues. Let's just leave it at that, or put it in that term. But I'd had quite a few head concussions and was trying to work out my issues, but anyway, so and do I still think about a couple of these people fondly after all these years? Yeah. Do I try to get in touch with them? Nah, it ain't worth it. But one of those people, will send me an email or a card once in a while, and or through a friend, they'll say, tell Dave if you see him, I said hi. So some of them have ended cordially, and we can talk and be adults, and other relationships are just get the hell out of here, and that's that. Don't talk, don't speak, don't write to me. Okie doke. And those have hurt me in that. You mean we can't at least say hi, just because we've been together for 3, 4, 5 years? You mean you literally don't want to have anything serious? Oh, okay, just asking. So, and sometimes I had one person many, many years ago when I first bought this property. Um, she was like, "That's it. I can't put up, blah 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 blah." Okay, and it was the fact that I was homesteading the property. She was getting out of a marriage, and I had just gotten out of a marriage, and we'd known each other for years, but as married. So she come to see me, and then I was like, well, let's get together. She, no, I can't put up with this. And turned out that within 3 weeks of breaking up with me after we'd been together for a couple of years, she marries this guy. And then about 6 months after she marries him, she shows up here at my house and goes, he can't give me what you and I had. And I was like, yeah. She goes, well, how about um, I want you to be my toy boy. And I was like, what? You know, I'll be your, you be my mistress or my mister. Now, this is back in the 80s, right? And I was like, are you really serious? She goes, yeah. She goes, I love him because he's got money and a pool and a business and fancy cars, but he just don't give me what I need. And I was like, well, that's just too bad because I'm not going to be the other man, period. And I mean that's, you know, and I thought, now of all the gall, so she loved me, but I didn't have money and I didn't have the prestige that she wanted, but she still wanted to be around me. She still wanted, interesting. And, but, and I thought about it. Let me tell you, I thought about it because at one point I was madly in love with her. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, no, um, yeah, it was her sugar daddy that she married, but she wanted me for her toy boy anyway. But interesting in that, I have kind of sort of lived on both sides of that. I was like, what? Now I've never been unfaithful. I wanted to at a time or two, but I was maybe in my mind I lusted after someone, but I never broke my vow. And I said, if I ever break my vow, then the marriage is over, or whatever the relationship, right? But even if I was dating someone, I would not date someone else. I mean, no, no. If I was dating, Wanda or Luann or whoever, I never dated a Wanda or a Luann, to my knowledge. There were a couple of years there I did a lot, but anyway. But so the idea though of this personal relationship, now I have met a couple of women in my life that we never got married, but it was like we looked at each other and said, this time right now is very special. And but for various reasons, we realized that to try to make it a future long lasting thing, it just wasn't going to happen because of illnesses and situations and stuff, life. And so we just had to say, okay, that's that. And for no real, I hate you, or go away, or you piss me. It wasn't that at all. It was physical situations and where we lived, and it wasn't going to get fixed. So, and that there were two times that's happened in my life, and that those were tough. In that, you still loved each other, you still wanted to be together, but you just couldn't because of situations. That just sucks, So anyway, but so I've been married four times and several in between time things. So somebody says, "Well, how do you know?" I've been around the block and around the block and around the block and stopped and went back around the block the other way to see if it would make any difference. So, and I almost married the same woman twice. That would have been a really big mistake, but But so in this, also, I realized that there are those special times, some that you meet someone, and I don't necessarily want to call it a fling, because there's been a couple of times where I've met someone and it clicked, but you knew it was only going to be for like a week, 2 weeks, something. There was a time constraint in there, but both of you nobody was cheating on anybody, nobody was, and it was honest to God, true. Some would call it lust, but it was more than that, because I don't go for the lust, never went for the lust thing. I was never a person for the wham bam, thank you, ma'am. No. A lot of guys are, oh man, yeah, nah. I want to go out to dinner, and I want to have, I want to bring, flowers, and I want to, have music, and I want foreplay, and I want some more foreplay and some afterplay. And anyway, but so for me to just be, sort of like a regular guy in the wham bam, thank you, ma'am, never. So, but I have met a couple, well, two in particular, that they were short. We knew it and agreed to it and said, nice to have met you afterwards. And those were like, wow, kind of moments. And it's like very intense love with lust involved. Won't throw that out. But at the same point, respect and everything, but have a good time and spend, quality time with each other. No arguments, but you know it's got to go. See you later. It's been fun. So, as relationships go, you know, you have to wonder sometimes if that wasn't more pure love in the essence of that both of you shared it, both of you were in sync, both of you were, and it was a mutual all the way down the line. Everything was mutual. But you also knew going in that, this person was going to, move to New York or whatever. Um, or that they were in the armed service or but the fact that you also realized that that short amount of time though, albeit precious, why not enjoy it while it's here, especially if, like I say, they're no wives or husbands or none of that kind of stuff, you know two people sharing. And so, versus spending years with somebody trying to make a marriage work, bitching about, this, that, and the other thing all the time, just trusting you because you're 5 minutes late home from work. And like, anybody, takes me more than 5 minutes. I'm just saying. Um, but the idea, though, that, being distrusted, when you're trying so hard to be trusting, don't want to stray, want to be honorable. And then come find out later on, they were the ones who were, screwing around and being dishonorable. So, but a lot of lessons learned in that. Would I, at my age, would I, accept a companionship? Hey, if it works out at this age, I've got enough wisdom to be able to go into it looking like, okay, here's the deal. But I gave up the looking part a long time ago simply because I was trying to force my will onto the universe. That's why I know that shit don't work. Love spells, I mean, the whole 9 yards. I went down that road because I was so intent on having a mate for life. And maybe that just wasn't written into my plan, you know what I mean? Where I know people who've been married for the last 40, 50 years, and they're getting along just great. And more power to them, I mean that. But for me, apparently it's not in the cards. So, but anyway, it's been 2 hours and 7 minutes, and Mossy Man, hey, showed up there. I learned the hard way. I don't think there's any easy way about it, Mossy Man. And I really tried. I really wanted to have that soulmate. But here's the deal. After I had that big infusion of head bangs and the seizures and stuff about 5 or 6 years ago, when I came out of that, I also had to end a relationship then at the same time. And I realized that as much as I would like it, my chances on I had to look at things honestly were probably pretty slim. But I could join match.com, I could join all these, which I did, and I could try to lure someone, blah blah blah. You got to be someone else because somebody else. You live like a hermit? Yeah, boy, I got 18 acres in the woods. Well, I don't know. My house is unconventional. It's a passive solar. Well, I don't know. You don't have heat in here? No. Well, that breaks it for me. Okay. Regardless of the type of person I am, well, you don't have enough money. You don't have the right car. Oh, screw it. And so I was looking at all these people who, but I want a companion. I want somebody to laugh with. And I was, you want somebody that's got a lot of money that can take you places. Tell the freaking truth. I found out how many people weren't looking for love. They were looking for money that they could live with. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's been an interesting, but I realized that for me, in the spiritual realm of things, to try to force it or coerce the universe to find me that mate or whatever is like wasn't in the cards for me. So it's like, no, everyone here within our soul tribe doesn't deserve any kind of form of abuse. None of you are ever less than, never accepted someone that treats you as so. Right. You know, and I've been that henpecked husband and so forth. And, the beat up husband kind of thing. And that's a really rotten place to be. It really is. I live like a pauper. Stick with me, honey, and all this could be yours, you see. Right, Ian. There was I think it was in Mad comic book years ago, 50 years ago. And there's this picture of, of an old timey carpenter, and he's holding in his hand an awl, AWL, an awl, and it's for starting screws, and it's a hand awl, right? So he looks at his young boy, and he said, and he's holding this carpenter's tool, and he goes, "My son, one day this awl will be yours." And ever since then, every time I've got this awl will be yours, I'm thinking about this little carpentry tool, and it's like this awl will be yours. So anyway, how we look at the world is absolutely crazy. Yeah, you're right, Michelle. True love has nothing to do with money. And the last time I thought we did have a spiritual connection. There is no doubt about it. But she had some physical ailments that required her to be in a situation because of her ailments, and it just wasn't going to work out between us. Having nothing to do with how we felt towards each other, but our physical conditions just wasn't there anyway. So, but have I given up? No, not really. But am I looking? Am I trying to force the universe for this special soulmate? The answer is no. No. Sorry about that. Because I'm not going to try to force the um, force love. I guess it's either there or it isn't. And I've met folks who had infatuation, and I have been infatuated with the another person, right? I mean, so I've seen it from both sides and go, but wait a minute. Anyway, so relationships are complicated, and life is tough. Life is hard enough, uh, and it's even tougher by yourself in a lot of ways. But if you got the wrong mate, oh man, I'd live in a cardboard box before I'd live with my ex-wife again. You know what I mean? My last one. Holy crap. Just wow, what a mistake that was. But um, internet love. What can I say? But one of the interesting things I've learned in all of this is that what a person considers the truth and what they decide to share with you. And I've been so open that it has killed a relationship, because it was like, well, if you ask me the question, I will tell you no lies, but I will warn you ahead of time. Are you sure you want to know? You know, bottom line. Well, how many people did you slept with? Don't even go there. You know, I've been in about, I've been married 4 times. I've been in relationships. I was almost married 2 times. And so, there was sex involved and all. So, but don't ask me how many people I've had sex with, and who they were, and might you know them? Don't even go there, you know. And I've had people that would, start out there, and it's like, nah, married on this very day in 2008. Wow. Congratulations. A GeoCities chat room. Yep. I'd live in a cardboard box with someone where true love between us existed. You're right, Chloe. Absolutely. I'm absolutely, right, Ian. I agree with you. But anyway, but even in a marriage, sometimes it's the small things, it's them little things that get you in trouble, or it's the little things that keep you together. So, in this discussion for tonight with this, um, so is it, or it is, sometimes it is the small things that count, sometimes. And if we allow ourselves to look at the universe differently, we will notice that lots of little things are always important and can always be precious to us. So, give those thoughts and feels back. How would you? Cheating don't help. Boy, don't you know about the cardboard box. And I brought up the cardboard box too. Used to live in a cardboard box a couple of times actually, but to the point, yeah. Right, Chloe. Give you the way you would treat your partner. Give you the love and healing you deserve. And Chloe, to sort of back you up on that, allow yourself to be loved. Allow, because a lot of times, well, for me, it was I don't deserve it. I'm, for whatever reason, I don't deserve to be loved. Well, and so, and that's not right either. So, you have to allow yourself to accept and receive the love from the universe. You know what I mean? And for each of us, um, if a relationship doesn't work out, and as many as I've been in, some of the dumbest shit comes up and gets in the way. Little things, that start with distrust or something. Anyway, but sometimes we feed the fire when we don't necessarily want to. I mean, I would find myself, trying my best not to get in an argument, but my last wife would push certain buttons, and man, I would fly off the handle, And then one day, I was having one of those visions on my ride to work with White Dove, and she's like, "You got to stop this." And I was like, "You're right." Um, so no matter what she did, no matter how she tried to do it, no matter what word she slung at me, I I refused to get mad or to, you know, and that was the last straw because when she realized she couldn't get to me and she couldn't upset me any longer, and that I was like, yeah, okay, oh, okay, all right. And I didn't fly off the handle anymore. She knew she had lost the battle. And within a week, she was gone. I went to do a puppet show on a weekend and came back, and the house was empty. I mean, empty, empty. It was empty, and I was like, what? And I cried for about 10 minutes. And then I was like, after that 10 minutes, I was so relieved that she was gone and that the house was empty. You know, she left me the refrigerator and the stove, but I still had the payments on those. But anyway, but, anyway, how did Prince Charming do it? His name was Charming and he was a prince. Come on. I was diagnosed with being poisoned with shame. I had to forgive myself every day and night. Um, I agree with you, Isby, but here's one thing. And I've lived through the shame thing with the Catholic priests and stuff. Listen, I get it with the shame. But I also realized that one day I had to forgive myself for for having shamed myself. And but on that day I said I refuse to carry this forward. Now, it took me several steps. First, I had to realize that I was living in shame. Then I had to waken up to the fact that it wasn't other people that was shaming me, it was myself. And then, so there was a progression of this understanding with the shame. But when I got to the point when I realized this and I realized I was part of the problem, I was the problem, and I realized that, that when I had that knowledge in hand, I sat down one day, did a little ceremony, and said, "From this day forward, I am not living in shame of especially that which has happened, through the Catholic Church and priests and all the shame and all the guilt and everything I've lived through my entire life is over. I'm handing it over to God," is what I said at the time. And I ain't been bothered with the shame part a bit. So, and it's a horrible disease to live in shame. And so, however you have to deal with it is understand that once you make up your mind to not allow the shame to bother you anymore, and or the guilt, because guilt comes with the shame. And so you understand the two of them and just draw a line down in the damn dirt and say, that's it. No more. This is it. And the hard part is when you wake up the next day, as soon as you start to go feeling that shame thing again, say, no, I settled that. And the first couple of times that the thoughts will come back in, I'm thinking of the priest thing and having discussions with people. And I realized one day that I didn't feel guilty anymore. I didn't feel the shame. I could talk about it and not feel guilty for what they did to me, or at being shamed. And I realized, oh my God, it's because when I made that commitment to myself, because it doesn't matter to anybody else, but when I made that decision for myself and I made the decision to keep it, okay, I'm saying no more after today. But I'm also saying that if it comes back up in my life, I'm not going to allow it to, um, shame me out and make me feel good and put, no, I've had enough. And when you put your foot down to yourself and say, that's it, and mean it, because it'll come back up again. But when it does, you look at it and go, nope, I've already dealt with you. And it'll come back up again, and you look at it and you go, I've already dealt with you. Sorry, you know. So, and change whatever it is within you don't find resonating. This is a time for you to search the dark night of your soul so you can shine in the true, beautiful essence of your being. Right, Chloe? And as far as the shame goes, shame on us if we allow any of this to go forward. And especially as far as this ending of this 2020 fiasco, how much of it do you want to drag forward into the next few, after the next few days? Not me. Mm-mm. 2021 have not a clue what it's going to bring, but I refuse to drag any of 2020 into it. You know, some things are going to have to kind of follow along, but in this, I say, shame on me if I carry any of this negativity into next year. Shame on me, but wait a minute. So, but here's the thing though, by saying that to myself, I also understand that by saying, I know what I mean. Shame on you, Dave, if you carry this any further. And that's true. But by that statement, I can also say, because of what I've learned about shame from different other topics, I'm not going to do it. You know, I'm not going to be shamed. But shame on you if you do, right? Well, I ain't going to do it because I'm not going to live with the shame anymore. You know what I mean? I'm not going to live with the guilt. I make a choice today to do better. For me, it started as self talk as a child. Oh, them childhood guilts. You know, I've had a few of those. And Isby, you just have to say, have you had enough? Nobody can answer that. But when you look at yourself in the mirror and go, here's the subject, have you had enough? And you do. Guilt and shame chain you to the past. Absolutely, Deborah. Um, the mask of shame. Yep. And we live behind it. Many people have then Isby tomorrow or later on tonight or whatever, look at yourself in the mirror and say, this is the last day. This is the last year. This is the end of the year. I'm making from now on, I'm not going to let this bother me. Now, here's the trick. Like I said, for me, it was about talking about the priest and the pedophilia stuff. It doesn't bother me anymore. I don't get angry. I don't feel shameful anymore because I've dealt with it. So the subjects of shame may come up again in your life, but you'll if you are true to yourself and honest and say, I've had enough. That's it. No more. When the subject comes up, you just go, sorry, I've dealt with it. That's what you continue on. Which would you rather do? Look at the guilt and shame and say, no, no more. Yeah, but I'm going to enter your mind. Go ahead, enter my mind. I say no to you. Get thee behind me, Satan. You know what I mean? And I've literally said that when certain thoughts have come into my head that try to, bring that guilt and shame back into my life. No, get thee behind me, Satan. Get out of here. Stay away. Don't want it, but it still happened to you. Yeah, but I'm not feeling that in the way no more. It's my choice. And Isby, it's your choice. So go and you got to do it in front of a mirror, I swear. And look at yourself in the eye and go, have you had enough, buddy? And you answer back yes, then don't do it anymore. So, but anyway, I do the same. Connect to the universe, to the divine. Understand you as a creation is worthy. Our divine creator, the one who gave you. Yeah, I was watching a video today, and it was like, we're all part of the universe, and we're all part of this. We're all part of Mother Earth. We're all part of the. But at the end of it, it was like they showed this angel and said, "But do you know? If you're a part of the universe, but did you know that for every human hybrid person on this planet, because we've all been tinkered with, we all have an angel essence in us, every one of us." And to deny that is like, but that is that creator spark. That is the God spark for some folks. That is the creator. It is who we are always. And Isby, I don't know if you got that, but if you know where Isby came from, but it was the uh, an alien handbook that the aliens talked about us beings here, that we were Isbys. We were spiritual beings that were trying to be better in the universe. Hey, Ray of Thoth, how are you? But when I do something that wrecks me in any way, I got to forgive myself and go on. Yes, yes. Um, and banishing the thoughts, Isby, you can't make them go away. Those thoughts will always be there. And the harder you try to banish them, the more they're going to come up. And the more you're going to feel guilty because you can't banish them. It's a never in. So, uh, again, the thing about the priest, it comes up, but I refuse to allow my emotions to get dragged into it, because I know I can't get rid of the memories. They're in there. So I don't try to get rid of them anymore. But at the same time, I refuse to be, partake in any more emotions that used to be tied to those memories. But you have to make up your mind and say, that's it. And, there are people who become comfortable living in cardboard boxes. For me, I lived in a cardboard box because it was necessary, but I couldn't wait to get out of that cardboard box. Okay. So, yes, I made the choice to live in one, but I also made the choice to get the hell out of it too, as soon as I could. So we make the choice. So guilt and shame is a cardboard box. So do we want to live in that cardboard box, or do we want to move on? Now, there are people who say, well, Hawkeye, you admit that you lived in a cardboard box. Well, that's kind of, and don't you feel guilty about that? No, I have been in the gutter. I have lived in a cardboard box and I don't anymore. See how far I've come, you know? From a cardboard box to I own my property, from a cardboard box to, wait, whoa. Am I a millionaire? No. Do I have what I need? Yeah. Do I have, do I have what I want? Mm, who cares? Um, but I have what I need. And I'm not going to live in any more guilt. I've spent too much of my life in living in guilt. And to me, that's a sin. And the shame that the church and other people's put on me, but it's my choice. And it's your choice. It's our choice collectively. We just say, no, that's enough. That's enough. Don't want it, you know. But it's been a part, and trust me, I went through a period of when I stopped feeling guilty. It was odd because there was something missing. And what was missing was the guilt. So I had to go find something else to feel guilty about. And I realized that, a month after I had dealt with this issue 5 or 6 years ago, that for some reason, I was looking for something else to take its place, something else to feel guilty about. Something it's almost like living in a battered situation. The wife doesn't like to get hit on, but if her husband doesn't hit her every once in a while, what the abuse. So, and I've seen women move out of one abusive situation and move right into another one. It's a different person, same kind of abuse. They can't live without it. And it's like, but. So we have to make the choice, and we just have to stick by it. Have faith in yourself. Um, but to the point, through all your life, if you honestly had enough, then stop doing it. Feeling guilty or shameful. Just say, that's it. No more. You are not going to bother me anymore. And be strong. And here's the thing, for those folks out there who may feel that they don't have the strength, listen, my friends, you have lived this long with the guilt, and that takes a shitload of energy. It requires less energy to stop feeling guilty and shameful once you figure it out. And so all that energy that was spent feeling shameful and guilty, you will retrieve it. It becomes yours again. It was always yours, but your choice of how you use that energy. But, you know, I still smoke cigarettes, but there are times when I will go to light one and say, nope, sorry, you know. I was going to buy a couple of packs, and I said, nope, I'm only going to buy 2 packs. And if I run out of cigarettes, I don't run to the store if I run out of smokes. Now I've got tobacco that I can roll, but if I'm running out of cigarettes, I used to like, oh my God, I got to go to the store and get cigarettes before the store closes. Not anymore. So there are lots of things in my life that I have chosen to say no to. Now, have I given them up yet? No, but I'm still working on it. But in these other things, I have been strong enough. And when you get up the courage to say no, this is it, no more. But then the courage is like, the next time it comes up, what are you going to do? You're going to simply say no, or you're going to allow the old to continue. But once you cut that shit off and you break from it and you feel better about it, and then you look back and go, I can't believe I lived that long with all that guilt. I mean, it talk about a release. I mean, I felt spiritually that I had jumped a couple of notches after I dealt with that. And looking back, I did, because I had to stand up and say no to myself for feeling guilty over something that I didn't do. I was involved in it, yes, but I didn't arrange it, and. So, and then when I realized that I actually had the strength to deal with it, and that gave me extra strength to deal with the next little internal, let's go into the darkness and see what's there. But then it's sort of that confidence is what you need. So pick on one small guilty thing and deal with it and say no to it. And then work on the next one and work on the next one. And after a while, you go, this is easy. I'm screw this. I'm not going to feel guilty about this anymore. Recently, certain events around here, there were a persons that tried to make me feel guilty over something that I had nothing to do with. And for a couple of months, this shame and guilt thing tried to come back. And I was like, you didn't do this. It wasn't your fault. You tried your best. No. And if anybody's going to try to make me feel guilty, shame on them, because I don't have the guilt and you're not going to put it on me, nor am I going to absorb what someone else is trying to put on me. You just got to say no. But by gaining that strength, I love you too, brother. We're behind you, and not just you, Isby. Anybody that's having these kinds of issues with guilt or shame, listen. Many of us have been through this, and some folks are still suffering. But listen, life's too short in the long run to carry it on any further. And if you've tried to make room, if there's something you actually did, whether it was your fault or not, if it's in the past, it's in the past, and leave it there. Let us not carry forward any of this trash into the future. You know, you've heard me talk about them, the old folks that used to pick cotton by hand and had them big old sacks that they drag down them, those rows. And so, it's a long row to hoe. You might have heard that expression. But in that's true. But if you've got this sack of cotton and you go down this long row and you get to the end of that row, if you don't dump out that sack and you keep dragging that thing down the next row, it's going to be so heavy and you ain't going to be able to pull it, you know. So in thinking about that and living down here in cotton country, they're still pulling cotton out of the fields this year. And by the way, this time last year, all the gins were shut down. All the cotton was already combined and done. Anyway, just a curious note. But to this idea of the cotton, no. So when you get to the end of the row, you've got to dump that bag out, you know. So that baggage, that is our guilt, it is our shame. And if it's over, it's over. We cannot, we should not, and cannot, although some folks do, drag that bag around that next row and try to, you know. And if you've ever been in a big old cotton field or any field and you see a row of whatever, and you think to yourself, number one, I got to make it to the other end of the field down this row, but then I got to turn around and come back. Whatever I can drop off at the other end, I'm leaving it there. You know, it might be my underwear. It might be my, you know, it me anyway. Meaning anything that weighs heavily on you. But anyway, so but with that said, though, it is the little things, and um, dealing with shame and guilt is not a little thing. However, once you deal with it, you'll look back on it and go, "Wow, that was one of them little things I should have dealt with in my life. Look how much better I feel inside. My energy is clear, or clearer at least. I don't have this, you know, fog or shroud of the priest and the pedophilia and all that. I don't live that guilt anymore. It's gone, you know. And what a relief and what a release it is for your spirit. You will literally start to float. So I did. When I think about it and that transition I made there, um, it was just like, wow. Chloe says, that's me in the moment. No cigarettes the last hour. I haven't smoked one either, by the way. But Hawkeye's keeping me here away from the run to the store. uh, we weeded out field by hand, long road to hoe, all right. Yeah, Barry, if you've ever, you know, lived in farm country, man, I just keep getting with narcissists, and I'm a peaceful fellow, and at the end I feel like a total dumbass for getting yep. And we have to ask the question, is it really worth it in the beginning? But yep, Hawkeye, you just reminded me of a huge apple sacks and the bruises on my shins from the weight and leaning on the ladders. Yep, well, I used to pick oranges. Yeah, that was like that too, Deborah. You're knocking it out of the park tonight. Well, thank you, Ian. And Ed, it's a good thing you never smoked. Uh, but you know, after 2.5 hours and 12 minutes, foot 242, I'm going to have a damn cigarette. Ray thought, now moment to now moment, we make our choices. Remember to remove the judgment, for we do not see with full advantage what each moment plays to our whole. Yep, I agree with you, Ray. Yep. And I've talked about this before, and I may have given the book away, but it's a little narrow book, little hardback, and got it back in the late '60s or early '70s, called "Be Here Now." And it was little poems and sayings in there. But over the years, I've just thought about the title, "Be Here Now." What does that mean? And you know, to each person, it means something different. But so be here in the now. Well, what is the now? Well, right now, I'm sitting in front of my little heater. I'm, you know, doing a live stream on YouTube, and I'm chatting with my friends. So, but in this now presence, though, I'm going to be the best that I can. We'll have a conversation. I like to interact with you and read your conversations. Sometimes I can't keep up, but that's okay. Um, y'all chat amongst yourselves. But in that, though, because I do care about how you all feel. That's one reason why I'm here. is to, whatever issues, hey, let's chat them out, and yes, I use my life stories because I can't use somebody else's. So somebody told me one day, well, you sure are full of yourself, talking about yourself all the time. And I was like, listen, if I knew you any better, I'd talk about you. How about that? Let's talk about how you were a blah, 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 how how you treated people. So, and for myself, I think about someone who would make a remark like that. And I go, well, wait a minute. You're not quite getting this at all. Um, the stories are could be anybody's stories. I've known people that have had similar stories like mine. I haven't, talked about these people. There are some people that were with me at the time I had some of my experiences. I don't talk about them, but they had their own whatever at the time, at the time of my drowning and the other things. But anyway, so other hairy events, in life. I've talked about my brother in a couple of instances, but you know, those are okay. But anyway, um, and then how we were faced with cold temperatures, rain, stuck in the mud on a mountain in the middle of literally in the middle of nowhere. The chances of somebody coming by and seeing us on that road were like, we, we'd have been better off, looking for a Sasquatch. We would have had Santa Claus would have found us sooner than anybody else of the road we were on. But that's how bad it was. But and it was just after Christmas, so Santa Claus might have found us. But anyway, um, the fact that you're faced with issues, and do you choose to freeze to death or do you choose to walk and stay warm? Anyway, so, but with the idea of guilt and shame, it's just another, it's just another stepping stone in our life. Like having a flat tire on a muddy road in the middle of a rainstorm when it's freezing outside. You know, Nobody's coming, but you got to change the tire. So you buck up, and you suck it up, and you go out, and you feel better after you've done it because you did it. No matter how hard it was, you have confidence. It was snow and it was sleet. I was in a mud puddle, and I changed the tire and got over it. Wow. And you might be cold and wet, but you gain that confidence that I did it. you know Despite the bad stuff, I did it. So when we tackle those dark places in ourselves, yeah, it's cold, it's dark, it's whatever it is, but if you have enough faith, okay, do you know how to change a tire? Yeah. Then do it. Well, but it's cold out there. Do you know how to change a tire? Yeah. Well, then do it. So, in this, do we know how to get rid of our shame and guilt? Yes. Then why don't you do it? Well, because I don't want to forgive myself. I don't feel like, well, wait a minute. I thought you just said, so forgive yourself. But I don't feel worthy. Well, now you're making up excuses. Okay. I did this, you see. So now you make up excuses. Well, but I'm not worthy to forgive myself for feeling shameful and guilt. I'm not worthy. I bet. Hang on. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Who are we talking to here? Hmm. I'm looking at myself in the mirror and going, you know what? I've had enough of whatever it is, and I ain't pulling that cotton down another row because I've been in the field. I know what that means, and I'm making the decision to dump out my bag. So, do you have the information to deal with shame and guilt? Now, Isby, I'm not picking on you, okay? But in of the subject itself, do we have the information to fix it? The answer is yes. It's within us. It's called forgiveness, and then let it go. So it's our choice if we keep pulling it back, or it's our choice to say, that's it. So we already know it's to stand up and I've had enough. I had a good friend of mine years ago when I was going to mental health and taking all kinds of pills and seeing doctors and therapists and all these people, And she looked at me and she said, very calmly and everything, and she kind of leaned over and she said, "When are you going to have enough of this shit?" And I went, "What?" She said, "No, don't get upset." And I was, what? And I started to get really defensive. And I was like, "Well, what do I'm trying my best. I'm going to this." I know. She says, "I know. But when are you going to give up this shit?" And I was like, "But I'm trying. I'm going to therapy." I know, but when are you going to give this shit up? And so I said, "Okay, what do you mean by this shit?" And she looked at me very calmly and lovingly and she said, "The shit you keep carrying, doesn't it smell?" Well, wait. Well, would you carry a sack of dog poop around every day? Fresh, nicely, smelly dog poop. Would you carry it with you every day? Well, no, I'd drop it off in the dumpster. Well, don't you think the shit you're carrying, the guilt and the shame or whatever, don't you think that shit don't stink? Why would you carry that sack of shit with you? It stinks. When are you going to get rid of the shit, Dave? Ooh, talk about one of them aha moments. Because it was like, I was talking about it and I wanted to get rid of it. But the thing that it was by talking about it all the time, I wasn't getting rid of it. I kept carrying the sack with me. And it wasn't like it dried up and the smell went away. The more I carried this bag of shit, meaning shame and guilt and etc., the worse it stank. So I thought about it and I thanked her afterwards. And I was like, oh, holy carp, you know, I have been carrying this stinky bag of shit around with me, expecting the smell to somehow go away, you know. No, because I kept crapping in the bag and I kept carrying it and I kept, look at, I got this bag of shit I'm trying to get rid of. Well, then let go. Well, I can't. Why? Well, I don't know, because I can't forgive myself for some shit. Exactly. Throw the bag away. Get rid of that bag of shit you keep carrying. And it made a lot of sense to me. That was one of my stepping stones into the forgiveness and getting rid of the guilt and the shame. And so, because it was like, when you can picture it and get something that stinks really bad, not necessarily poo, but get something that stinks really bad and carry it around with you, and think of that as your guilt and your whatever, how long are you going to carry? Well, I got to carry this around for another day. Why? Well, because, you told me to, Dave. No, I said, put some stinky in a bag and carry it around with you. I didn't tell you to keep it. I'm saying carry it around and you'll figure out that you're going to say, I've had enough of this and throw it away. So, for any of you who are having issues along those lines, are you carrying a bag of dog poo around with you every day? And are you adding to the stink, And can you make a choice? Yes. Throw the damn bag away. And don't pick up another one. They stink. You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, I know I get a little graphic sometimes, but sometimes, when she looked at me with loving eyes and a caring voice, and I've known her for years, she's since passed away. But when are you going to get rid of this shit? And I was like, first of all, I had to realize that what I was carrying was shit. And she was right about that. And, so there were all these decisions I had to make, but she had to point it out to me in doggy poo terms, you know? Hmm. And in a way, it's sort of like the rhyme of the ancient mariner, where they hung an albatross around his neck, because of the choices he made. And it's like, how long is that albatross going to hang there? It stinks, it smells, it's rotted, it's got maggot. How long are you going to carry that dead thing around your neck, right? But anyway, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So, my friends, there's a beautiful full moon outside, and please don't go nowhere. I gotta. I've been at this for 3 hours, and I have cut trees down today, and I've moved wood, I've moved cement, I've done some other stuff, and I got to move and get out of this sitting position here. And I love you all. Isby, just know that there are a lot of us out here that have been, I say, similar situations where we've had to deal with some of these things, and you have to just make up. I'm gonna throw this dog shit away. But anyway, um, yes, you have to say that I'm worthy, because a lot of the stuff that I had to deal with was not so much just the priests, but with the guilt. I felt like I was not worthy of any kind of love. And that, you're right, Ray. And in that, and it's not a narcissistic thing, but in the understanding, when I say my prayer at the end of every video, to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom from the universe. You have to accept it and receive it. Two separate issues. So you have to accept the love that's already there. You have to accept the forgiveness that's already there. You have to accept these things and accept them and then receive them. Okay? Because you can tell the universe, well, I accept this, that's a good answer. But if you don't receive that message and you don't take it in or live it, then you can accept the universe. Okay. But if you don't receive it and take it into your heart, then you're right where you left off. You haven't really advanced anywhere. So I'm hoping that this has made some sense to you all. And I appreciate every single one of you. Michelle, yeah, drop it. Drop that bag. I might still be working on releasing the horrid conditioning of the situation, but I am doing all I can every day to break the deep rooted beliefs that I know are not true. There you go, Chloe. Absolutely. And for a long time, with certain things, mostly the priesthood and stuff, um, but and other incidents that happened in my life, that it was part of the forgiveness. It was part of me, myself, and I, the three worst enemies you'll ever have, um, and the three best friends you'll ever have too. But if you allow me, myself, and I to forgive, and you'll never forget it, and but to make the decision to, and you've heard me talk about this, stay, be that compassionate observer. So you can observe the things on your timeline that have happened, and you can observe things that may happen in the future, stuff, but you observe it. But it's when you allow those emotions to come back in. Bob, we haven't said hi to you lately. Um, the computer just hung up there for a minute, but thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Bob, and to your cousins out there for allowing us to be here. Cheers. Let's have some coffee. But many of us are working on it, Isby, And thank you, Ray. Don't do the poo. Deborah, you say you have as much right to be here as the stars in the sky. At least that much, right? Ian, David, you're doing the spiritual work your priest could only ever dream of. That's true. You lift people's spirits. Many thanks. Um, you're you're welcome. When I started learning about the truth, I also learned we are programmed as children. Then I allowed those programs to guide my life, even when I was happy. They were subconsciously there influencing my choices. Yep, that's true. And here's the thing, when you realize, like you just have, when you realize that, whoops, folks have been doing that to me, now's the time you say, okay, I they did that subconsciously, but now you can say, Isby, I see what it is consciously, and I am consciously saying no more. I choose to be me, you know? So, and that's the part of this that I said 2 hours ago, and I've said before, but it's very important that every single moment of every single day, we have the opportunity to make choices, to make a decision, to make our lives better or worse, you know, and it's up to us. But, Isby, um, I know we've talked before, and um, from me to you, I think that you're lacking the self confidence to just drop it, that bag of poo. You got this, dude. Okay? You got it. But accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. I got faith in you. Do you? I have faith in every single one of you, regardless of your situations. Because from what you discuss and how you discuss it here in the chat room with each other, you've got this. You may, well, I'm not quite sure how to figure it out. As I've said before, the answers are always in the universe to every question that's ever been asked or may get asked. The answers are already there. So, and you know, as the cards, the animal cards that I pull, and I'm too tired tonight to pull one, but I would. Um, Ween, thank you, Chloe. Um, just understand that the universe will give you the strength. The universe will help you with the answers, but you have to accept them and receive them and then act upon them, you know. Thank you, David. You keep it real. You are open and honest with warts and all. Yeah, I got a few warts, not too many, but you know, yeah, that's true. I don't have hemorrhoids. I can report to that. Like that's too much information, right? Okay. Thank you all. And I will continue on with this. And Chloe, Isby, Ray, Ian, Michelle, Barry, Chloe, if I missed you. Yeah, okay, Isby. Put that behind you, okay? Um, because we can sometimes use another person. I know I did recently. So we can use another person as an excuse for some of our behavior. And it may be partially true, but we have to look in the mirror and be honest with ourselves and go, am I using this person as an excuse to allow my behavior that I'm too chicken hearted to stand up for? I had to do that and go, I was using that person as an excuse. Oh, wait, stand back up here. But anyway, so, and Project Skyfalls, yeah, you as well. Deborah Truax, thank you. So, anyway, here's the prayer as always, and I absolutely mean this always. I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. Each and every day, I pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. And in that law of three that works really great in comedy, is that I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe, and that you will continue to share the knowledge and the wisdom and the healing and the blessings that you have learned from the universe. Keep up the good work, everybody. I got faith in you. I do. You all are wonderful people, and many of us are facing different trials and tribulations in our life. Have faith in yourself, number one, without being a narcissist. But we have to have enough confidence to know that if you're drowning, you can swim. If you're stuck in the mud, you can figure out how to get out of the quicksand. If your car broke down and you got a flat tire, you know how to change it. You know what I'm saying? So life is full of, adventures along the way, and many lessons also stuck in there. So hi, Ed. Goodbye, Ed. Good night, you all, and blessings, cosmic hugs. And as always, we love you, Bob. Thank you for allowing us to be here and to all the AI. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, good friends here on this show. And y'all stay safe, seriously. And remember, let's not carry 2020 with us. Let's start off fresh in a couple of days, with a new year. We need it. So, cosmic hugs. And as I always say, from South Georgia, TTFN. And that's ta-ta for now. Bye, Michelle. Good night, good morning, wherever you are. Cosmic hugs. Be safe. Cheers.